Tiffani Czapinski Rescue Baby, Episode 18 on All Maven's branded podcast. I'm John Beethan, your host of Branded, the podcast brought to you by All Maven, a digital marketing and branding company located in Southern California and with offices in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I met Tiffani Czapinski as a new member at the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce while we both were attending an online Zoom event there. And when she introduced herself to the group, I immediately knew I wanted to have a conversation with her. Now, Tiffani's background is as a firefighter, but because of a back injury, she had to leave that profession. She then inspired herself to create Rescue Baby, her new emerging, yet-to-be-branded business. Listen to this episode to find out how she's pivoting, and not because of the pandemic. Welcome to the show, Tiffani. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great. We had a conversation last week, or this week. When was that? I don't remember, but I'm just intrigued. Met you at the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce on a virtual happy hour, I think. I have that right?
It was the Chamber 101.
It was Chamber 101 because you were a newbie.
Yes, sir.
And I'm the co-chair of Business Resource Committee, so I was there to help. So thanks for reminding me. I'm on so many Zooms, it's just hard to keep them all straight.
No worries. I'm looking forward to the happy hour one, though, one of these days.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. It's really fun. So we're talking with Tiffani Czapinski, and the reason I wanted to have her on the show, I pronounced your last name correctly?
Czapinski.
Czapinski. I like it a lot. I love the way it just rolls off the tongue and the lips.
Right.
But, you were on that call and introduced yourself, and you were so clear about what it is you do for Rescue Baby, which I want to talk about because I think it's fabulous. But I also want to talk a little bit about the history, how you got into it, because you were a firefighter, right?
Yes, sir. For almost 20 years.
Wow. So let's talk about that. What actually inspired you to become a firefighter?
Well, I wanted a career that was constantly changing. I didn't want to be behind a desk. Mm-hmm. I was struggling between being a marine biologist because I was successful in that in high school, and being a veterinarian, or the other one was a country music singer.
So you're going to sing for us today?
I could try. I do a little Linda Ronstadt.
What'd you just say? What?
I like Linda Ronstadt. I've actually sang the national anthem at Petco Park and God Bless America at the 7th Inning Stretch. I've sang at the Midway and at the fairgrounds as a firefighter in uniform.
I had no idea. So let's talk about how you got into firefighting first, and then we'll at some point at the right time we'll take off and you can start thinking about something you want to sing. So.
Oh boy. So when I was looking on the internet, it's kind of a funny story. I'm searching. I'm 19 years old, and what do I want to be? All my friends, they are on career paths, and I was in community college, and I stumbled upon this advertisement for the USDA Forest Service. Become a firefighter. Join the USDA Forest Service, and I literally got chills. And I said, that's it. I want to be a firefighter. And from then I started changing my coursework to fire technology. And I got my associate's degree in that. I got picked up at Camp Pendleton Fire Department early in my when I was 20. And just to hit the ground running from there, ended up acquiring 3 different associates, never quite made my bachelor's, but 2 associates are in emergency medicine as a paramedic, and one of them in fire technology.
Mm. So that's how you got involved. Fire technology. So that's a subject pretty interesting. It sounds like all by itself. Huh?
It is. And the career paths now these days, you can go all the way up to a doctorate level in fire technology, fire sciences, emergency management. Yeah.
And then you had something happen that changed the course, didn't it?
Yeah. So about 2.5 years prior to leaving the fire service, I suffered a back injury. And struggled with it, pretty much plateaued. Doctor said, yeah, you can keep firefighting and become paralyzed. It's up to you. Just let me know what you want to do. And having two young children, I thought about it for a little while and struggled with the ego, and then finally, decided to hang up my boots. And and it was a hard decision, but it was a good one.
And it was after that you came up with this new idea?
Yes, I was getting acupuncture for my back and taking that moment to just kind of pray and reflect. And that's when the whole business idea came upon me from, I believe it was God-given. And the name of the business, Rescue Baby, the logo appeared to me. The mantra is empowering families to be their baby's hero. And okay, what kind of services then, God? What else? Okay, CPR instruction with an emphasis on pediatrics for the young families, and car seat installation, and in-home emergency preparedness on the residential level. And got up off the table and called my husband and was like, "Hey, this is crazy, but check this out. What do you think?" And he's like, "You need to write this down. This sounds great." And it's something I definitely feel passionate about, and it's nice taking my service from all these years and all the experience that I've gained and be able to turn that around and still continue to serve the community.
So, this show, All Maven's Branded Podcast, we cover a lot of different things, but also branding. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it just seems to me you had a real clear idea of what brand you wanted to create. And so how did Rescue Baby, I mean, you just told us how it came up, but when you think about the brand in terms of the way it feels to you, what does it feel like to you in terms of what it is the brand does?
Well, it's, as a firefighter, getting called to pediatric emergencies, it's always a high emotion, very heavy call that firefighters respond to. And the feeling that I have behind it is a passion of empowering families to be able to be their baby's hero, to start the things that they need to do, CPR, the Heimlich maneuver, and teach them how to actually save their baby so that when the fire engine pulls up, they're not just throwing their babies into a firefighter's arms. Instead, they're actually there working on their baby and hopefully saving them.
Wow. Yeah. So this would be really useful for anybody, any young family, I would imagine. You never know what's going to happen. Kid eats a chicken bone, starts coughing, and so what are all the services you provide? So
the CPR and first aid portion is, I tailor it to be on the personal level, like in home where you're comfortable. You've got your baby with you. You've got the grandparents, the caregivers, and sitting on your couch and asking those silly questions and still having fun, to where, teaching it to where it's not so mundane and structured, and being able to make it more tangible so that whenever I leave, the parents and the caregivers can say, "I know exactly what to do. I feel confident," versus going to a sterile classroom environment. And most of the content, 90% of it's on adult bodies versus pediatric babies, which, there's great differences between a baby's anatomy and their head portion to their size, their tongue, like everything behind it compared to an adult. So it really tailors towards the pediatric element.
Can you give us a couple examples of a couple different clients, no names, just examples of, situations where you've actually been able to go into a home and supply this? Actually, it's a level of comfort is kind of what it is.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
It seems like it.
Yeah. So the families that I've served so far, they've all kind of been in the same scenario where they're sitting comfortably on the couch. I'm on the floor in front of them. I've got the mannequins, and go over pathophysiology and kind of talk about the baby and the anatomy and everything that, pertains to what they're doing and why they're doing it, and making it into, like, for example, when there's a choking, it's nice. I have a little visual prop that I bring out, and I try to explain to people that it's imagine a balloon. And you've got a pipe, and then you've got something stuck inside that pipe. And when you're doing the Heimlich maneuver, essentially what you're doing is you're squeezing that balloon to make that object fly up out of the pipe. And so when you're doing Heimlich maneuver, you're imagining these balloons are your lungs, and you're wrapping your arms around, or you're putting your hands around the babies, and you're squeezing those balloons to forcefully eject the object that's lodged. So
Yeah.
So yeah, the environment of just being comfortable in your home and breaking it all down to those those aha moments. That's what I love so much. It's like, as soon as somebody goes, I'm like, yes, like they got it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. That's incredible. So, and you have children yourself, so you're all obviously there in case anything happens. Have you had any problem? I mean, any situations where you actually had to engage yourself in something?
Not for choking. However, my daughter did get into my mom's blood pressure medication and had chewed on a little pill and ingested it, which, prompted. That's another thing that I give to families. I give them a magnet for the poison control phone number to call. Everybody should have that stored in their phone. They should have it accessible to any kind of babysitter or caregiver that comes over, because poisoning
on the refrigerator or something.
Yeah, because poisoning is one of the leading causes of children's injuries or fatalities. And then I also had my son. He suffered a traumatic brain injury falling out of the shopping cart, and
in a store.
It was in the parking lot. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to switch over to paramedic mode, and I still had to call the ambulance because he became lethargic and was vomiting, which is hand in hand with a skull fracture. But luckily, there's no fracture, and I just had a good concussion. But yeah, it's you never know. It happens. It happens like a blink of an eye, and just having those skills that you can fall back on is really important.
Well, it sounds like you're in the same category as nurses who save lives.
Yeah. It's nice as a paramedic too, because we are licensed through the state and the county entity itself, which allows us we're basically an extension of the doctor. So paramedics are able to intubate, they're able to push all different kinds of drugs through a scope of practice and protocols that are already in place.
So what else would you like to talk about? I mean, it's incredible. We had a conversation before, and as I had told you, it's like we should probably save this for the podcast. I don't know if you remember, but there were some things we talked about, and honestly, I don't remember because it's kind of the way I roll. But
so the car seat installation is also a big thing that people have really reached out to, and going through the training that I had to do to become a child passenger safety technician, and it's through Safe Kids Worldwide. I found that 90% of car seats are installed improperly. And with that, after going through the training with CHP, all 4 of our car seats, 2 in each one of our vehicles, were installed improperly. And I thought, my husband's a firefighter as well. We're firefighters. We know how to install car seats. What's the big deal? A whole week for a class? Like, really? And sure enough, it's, we didn't have it right. And a lot of families think that they do and they don't. And again, another, accident happens. They happen all the time, every single day. And it's really easy to get into a vehicle accident. And the car seat is really like a cocoon for the baby. It protects them, especially for high impact. They can survive horrific accidents if the car seat is installed properly and they're buckled properly into the safety seat.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there's people out there listening right now where the wife's going, honey, let's contact Tiffani.
Yeah. And
are you actually? Yeah, go ahead.
Usually the dads are the ones that get their feelings hurt a little bit. I try to gently massage them and say, well, you did a good job. However, this could be a little bit better here. But yeah. Yeah,
it's it feels a lot like you take a road trip with your wife and the family and stuff, and the wife's going, are we on the right? Is this right? And the husband's going, oh no, it's fine. I know where we're going. And then 20 miles down the road, all of a sudden he's got to admit that he took a wrong turn.
Yeah. And who opens up those instructions anyway? Those little pamphlets that come with, warning labels, and we don't need all that, right?
No. Well, I got to tell you, I got an Instapot this last week, right? So I got it shipped to me, and it's like I read the instructions.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I absolutely read the instructions and got into it. But after the first time I cooked something, my kitchen, the top of where it was sitting, or I should say the bottom that it was sitting on, was just like really wet and everything else. And it's just, what am I missing here? Oh. Well, what is this plastic thing for? So somehow I missed it in the instructions. So I had to look for the picture in the book. Well, there was no picture. There was only a description of the item that I forgot to install. So it's like my recommendation is to read those instructions more than once.
Right. I love my Instant Pot. Those things are great.
Yeah. Or take a class from Tiffani.
Yes.
Are you actually meeting people in their homes these days based on the pandemic, or how are you negotiating that?
So I've tried to switch gears, and a lot of people, they have an outdoor space in their backyard, and having everybody spaced apart appropriately, wearing masks. I have medical grade decontamination wipes to where, and that's a big thing too, is the American Heart Association, my certifying entity for being an instructor, they've kind of gotten away from wanting us to teach actual mouth-to-mouth ventilations, but because the saliva and everything. However, it's so important to be able to do that. Passively, as you're doing CPR, they say that air still kind of moves back and forth, and you don't have to do mouth to mouth. But these are people that it's your family member. I completely understand if it's a stranger, but if it's your baby or if it's your husband, you're going to do mouth to mouth on them, and they're going to benefit from it. So it's important to teach how to get that seal around the mouth, pinching the nose, or even as the baby's anatomy being so small, you actually put your entire mouth over their nose and mouth, and learning that skill is important. And so I basically pass out wipes, to each little station, and they can decontaminate, and then I re-decontaminate, and then I, follow all the protocols for the wipes.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure it sounds like there's a whole lot more to it than one might imagine. Right. Yeah. So that's interesting. So what is the most challenging kind of training working with a family that you've ever had to do?
I'm always getting different questions. One of them, I was put on the spot where I had to do a follow-up, and it was pool safety. And that really made me look into I believe it's NDPA, National Drowning Prevention Alliance, and learn, how people can be able to make their pools more safe, and how their babies can be able to either be rescued. There's so many parameters to pool safety, especially when it comes to the drains at the bottom of the pool, and how kids get sucked down, and how
I never even thought of it.
Yeah. And, limbs getting into the pool sweep, suction or hands. So I was posed with that question. It kind of helped me to learn more about it. I had attended a conference with the NDPA, heard a lot of horrific stories, unfortunately, but it was like, well, wait a second, this is something that's important too, to add to. One of the other services is in-home safety evaluation and consultation. Because, as a firefighter, going to so many structure fires and knowing that the majority of them are started in the kitchen, and it's
are they really?
Yeah. And there's also the dryer fires are a big start to structure. The dryer fires, candles that are unattended, improper use of extension cords or surge protectors. And so doing in-home safety and teaching people, don't store plastics inside of the oven, and make sure that you clean your dryer vents at least twice a year, if anything once a year, because those collect a lot of lint, and that's how the fires get started.
That's beyond the filter that you do clean after every use. You're talking about the lint getting stored up in the vent that goes outside.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
And typically people, they'll go to dry their clothes and it won't be all the way dry. So they'll hit the button again and they'll do another cycle of drying. They still won't dry. What happens is that the dryers have a fail safe into them where if the temperatures get too high, it stops heating. And usually the temperatures get too high because that vent beyond the dryer is clogged. And sometimes that fail safe fails. And that's how the fires get started there.
Yeah. In my early days, I used to live on Orcas Island off the coast of Seattle. And I lived in an old country inn. And the primary means of heat for it were a couple fireplaces. And there was always concern about chimney fires. But since fire, so like, I don't know if they cover, well, they must cover that in some of the training you've done, right? In terms of.
Yeah. In this area, they haven't really had a lot of experience with chimney fires.
Right.
But I can imagine in areas where they're used a lot, it would be more part of the culture.
Yeah. It's usually, as I understand it, it's usually fires and fireplaces that you're not really burning really hot. They're just kind of low and almost smoldering and stuff like that. And the creosote builds up. So it's like what we would do once a year at the Country Inn is we would actually bring in the fire truck to stand by. And then we would like take the fireplaces and heat and throw a bunch of wood and get it really going really, really hot to burn off the creosote.
Oh, right.
And then there, of course, there's chimney cleaners.
Yes. Yeah. I did my ancestry and found out that some of my family back in the late 1800s were chimney sweeps.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Back on the East Coast. That was super interesting.
Yeah. Fun. What else did you find out in ancestry?
Well, I was looking into it to look into my Native American background and found that my great grandmother, when she passed away, she was 21. And on her death certificate, which I was able to find through Ancestry, was she died of hyponatremia due to poverty. And it was during the Great Depression time. So she basically had starved to death when my grandmother was 9 months old.
Oh my.
And my mom had no idea. So I was able to share with my mom, what happened to her grandmother. And
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. So what are you going to sing for us?
Oh, geez. Let's do that for maybe another podcast.
Okay. That's fine. La, 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 la. You probably want to warm up and I
right.
understand. So during this very interesting time of the pandemic, do you have like 3 top things that people should be aware of? And you can talk about anything.
So definitely, being at home, you have that opportunity to really hone in those areas that there are hazards in your home. And so why not use this time to be able to make sure that you check your smoke detectors and the batteries, make sure that you have the right amount of smoke detectors, one in each bedroom, one in the hallway, one on each level, to include carbon monoxide detectors, because now people are using, heat sources that, those are always unfortunate calls that, firefighters also go to way too often. And in this area is CO poisoning. And it's colorless, it's odorless. You just think that you don't even know. And so there's, you must have a CO detector in your home. Checking your electrical cords, making sure they're not overloaded, making sure you don't have an extension cord that you're using as a permanent source, and making sure that when you have a surge protector, you're not plugging one surge protector into another surge protector. And I recommend going to ready.gov. Sign up.
Okay.
Sign up for the emergency notification systems. And even if you do travel, look for those local sort of notification systems. Because say, for example, you go, right now there's these great deals going to Hawaii. Well, you should sign up for their local emergency notification system, because what if there's a tsunami that comes? All the locals will be notified, but you're just there visiting. So there's all these little elements where you could become more safe and, just building a more resilient community. Yeah.
I actually, I get tsunami alerts, and I also get SD Gov through, San Diego. San Diego, I get the alerts.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So the thing about smoke detectors and stuff is really important, I've discovered, only because there was I'm in a rental situation, and a couple of months ago, there was a furnace installed, a new furnace. The old one left, the new one came in. And as a part of it, they actually checked all the smoke detectors. And one of them in particular, was problematical, and the battery was out of it. It wasn't working. But then there was a little bit of education. It's like you said, the carbon monoxide detector is really, really important. But, and where should that be installed, or does that make any difference? Or should they all be the same with carbon monoxide detection, or?
So you should have a carbon monoxide detector if you have multiple floors, one on each floor, and in your you should have one in your garage. There's also carbon monoxide / flammable gases detector, which mine just expired. They usually last about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So they do have a shelf life to include smoke detectors. So you need to make sure that, I just changed the battery, it's fine. Well, if you look on the bottom of it, you'd actually take it off. It'll give you an expiration date. If it's more than whatever that manufacturer says, you need to ditch it. It needs to get thrown away. So anyhow, my carbon monoxide detector just expired because it was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a new one that does both CO and lower explosive limits at the LEL. And so we have a tankless water heater that's powered by gas. And then we have our dryer is powered by gas. And then, of course, our furnace and we have a gas stove. So, yeah, it's important to have one on each level of your floor, and one should do.
Yeah, when you mentioned actually monoxide detection in the garage, I never thought about that before, but it makes sense. Somebody goes out, they start the car, they may be sitting there on a cell phone talking to somebody, but if the alarm goes off and there's somebody else in the house, they're going to be able to hear it, right?
Right.
Is that one of the ideas behind it? I never thought about it, but...
Yeah, because that's another space. A lot of people, they have their dryers and washing machines in the garage, and that could be powered by gas.
Right.
And so it would be able to detect, that besides just the cars, the other people have, appliances in their garage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Back to baby rescue. What are the number one unfortunate fatalities when it comes to children in the household?
They say that falls are the number one.
Falls?
So
really? Falls.
Yeah. And I've responded to, one too many of children falling out of second story windows.
Oh my God.
They go thinking that, the window's either secure, but it's a screen. The screen falls forward and baby goes falling out too. Stairs, falling downstairs, obviously. So that's the number one injury, in the nation, sending tens of thousands of kids to the ER every single year in the U.S. So falls, poisonings, and burns, I believe, are the top three. Mm-hmm. So having that kitchen safety, kick the kids out of the kitchen when you're cooking, or if they're in there with you, just making sure that those pot handles are turned to the side, making sure that your water heater is set no higher than 120 degrees, because those scald injuries happen often. So yeah, there's
God, it's so much it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's my poor kids. It's a dangerous world out there, and I already see accidents before they happen. Oh yeah. and my husband as well. And I try my best to just let them be kids and run, and I fight myself back from like, no, stop, can't, no, danger, danger.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. What else would you like to talk about? Oh,
goodness. Well, we just had Thanksgiving yesterday, and everything came out great. I've got a smoking problem. I smoke briskets and turkey and ribs and.
Oh, that's yeah. How is it a problem?
It's not a problem. It's my happy place for sure. Yeah. I'm from Texas originally, so. You're
going to want to show up for Business Resource Committee. It's the first Tuesday at 7:30. So next Tuesday, December 1st. And you must get to know Brian Cowelty. Okay. He smokes.
All right.
And that's his whole thing. That's his whole passion. Hey, Brian, what are you doing today? Guess. It's just, that's kind of what he does. You guys had hit it off really well. And
I love it. I became a barbecue judge through KCBS. So I'm a certified judge, and I get to go around to these competitions and taste the best of the best.
Yeah. Barbecue.
Yeah.
So we're going to name this episode, I don't know, something in barbecue.
Woman on Fire.
Woman on Fire? Is that what you want to name it? That's fun. Well, you know what? I've been telling Brian, it'd be really great to actually do an episode on smoking and barbecuing and stuff. Yeah. So maybe you can get to know Brian, and then the three of us could get on a podcast and talk about it, because I don't know anything about smoking meats and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
What do you use?
So I've got a big green egg, and I use organic lump coal. So instead of those little briquettes that you see for charcoal, it's actual. You can see them. It looks like a piece of wood, and they're big chunks about the size of grapefruit.
Wow.
And then depending on what I'm smoking, I use pecan wood, mesquite, post oak, apple wood, and just puts in those different flavors.
So is the smoker brand you said, is it called Big Egg?
The big green egg.
Oh, the big green egg. Well,
yeah,
you kind of have to see it to believe it, I'm sure.
Yeah. There's a big following behind it. They call us eggheads.
Eggheads. Fun.
Yeah.
Well, you can connect with Brian. And,
wonderful.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be really fun. So what else? What is in the future for Rescue Baby?
Well, just, negotiating this pandemic and trying to figure out a way to get this information to more and more families. I'm considering getting a website going. I'm a knuckle dragging firefighter that they make jokes. They say firefighter books are just filled with a lot of pictures and very little words but we're way more intelligent than that. But anyhow, when it comes to being a small business owner, I am on the freshman team, and I'm still trying to navigate the marketing and all of that stuff that I have no idea about. So, yeah.
So I would be very interested in talking to you a little bit more about that off this podcast.
Wonderful.
Point. Yeah. Because I just, I love kids, and I just, all of a sudden you just grab my attention, and it's just like whatever I can do to help. I think it's really important to just help children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's traumatizing for obviously the baby, for the family that includes the grandparents, but it's extremely traumatizing to the firefighters and paramedics. And, we suffer from PTSD, a lot of us. And, if I can eliminate that injury from happening, then that trickle effect goes down to the firefighter not responding to a call with a pediatric, patient, and then, subsequently suffering PTSD from that call. So
what are you saying? As a firefighter, you'd just be tickled pink if you never got a call, huh?
Well, we love structure fires. It's terrible to say. Structured fire? What? Structure fire. So like a building.
Got it.
Not that we want people's homes to burn or, buildings to burn, but that's where, we get extremely excited. It's just the smell, even like wildland fires, that when I smell the smoke, it clicks off to this adrenaline. It's like, let's go, let's get it.
Let's go. Yeah. I don't know how accurate the film Backdraft with Kurt Russell, is that his name? Yeah. I don't know how accurate and stuff it is, but it was a fabulous film, and I can see the science behind it,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
that is all. There's a whole other areas called smoke reading, being able to look at the color of smoke and knowing exactly what kind of contents are burning, how that smoke is behaving, and what is going to be coming next. There's so much behind it. It's a science, really.
So it's actually, you can actually predetermine what might happen if given it in a certain fire, in a certain situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what you have to do to contain it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about all the fires in California?
Oh, it's heartbreaking. But I also feel that there's forest management that hasn't been occurring. And, knowing firsthand, as a firefighter on Camp Pendleton, where there's a ton of vegetation fires, towards my end of my career, before leaving there for a municipality, we used to be able to drive off road and go straight to the fire and put it out. But then all these regulations started coming in where it's like, well, you can't drive off road because there's a fairy shrimp that lives in the berm, and then you can destroy its habitat, or we need to put a smaller footprint on the forest. And so you can't drive through here. You need to walk, or you need to take donkeys, and so all of that slows down the response. And then the same thing when it comes to being able to do controlled burn operations, permits after permits being denied because of the smoke, pollutants into the air and
environmental concerns.
Yeah, but you really need to
Oh, I know.
Do these measures.
I was a city kid until the age of 12. My grandfather and my grandparents lived in a rural part of outside of Portland, Oregon. They raced greyhounds. They had a kennel there, and they had a filbert orchard. My grandfather died when I was 12, and the decision was made to move to the farmhouse. So literally, we moved to the farmhouse in the summer when I was 12. Anyway, I became a farm kid. And so the crop in terms of filberts was always late September, early October. But there was, after all that was done, there was a whole lot of stuff, and, you know, there was things to clean up and everything. We always had a bonfire, and it became ceremony. I mean, in a sense, you know. So in the Northwest, that's what happens. You know, leaves get raked up and stuff and people burn. But of course, now there's all these things that you can't burn so much, but you have to do something with it.
And it's so good for the earth too. And, you know, you see the fires and the pine cones get opened up and then they sprout their seeds, and it's very important for the soil.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, I have this feeling if you did an online class, you could do all sorts of classes, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love teaching. It's been ingrained into me. And throughout my career, I was always in some facet teaching, you know, either the firefighters for continuing education units, and then even down at Southwestern College for a stint.
So how can we, myself, the chamber, and anybody else there listening, how can we help you?
Oh my goodness. I'll just get the word out. A lot of people that have found me, they've expressed, I didn't even know this existed. And when I first came up with the business idea, I was like, somebody else has already done this. Let me not recreate the wheel. And I couldn't find anything comparable out there. So I guess just getting the word out and letting people know that this type of service does exist and it's important. So we can rescue our babies.
Yeah. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So my email address is rescue.baby@yahoo.com.
Okay, let's say that one more time again.
Rescue.baby@yahoo.com. Okay. And then my phone number is 760-500-5002.
Boy, that's easy to remember.
Real easy number.
500-5002?
Yes, sir.
See, I knew you were a singer because that just rolls off. You could like sing that.
Right. Just like Czapinski.
Yeah, we talked about that. So folks, we want to let you know that's not, you know, your husband is Polish, right?
Yeah.
He's a Polak. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys tell Polak jokes?
Well, I don't know. I just know that one. How do you hurt a 1-hour Polak hanging from a tree? You wave to him, right?
How many Polaks does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
One to hold the light bulb, another one to turn the ladder.
Love it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm quarter Polish, but I got to tell you, when I was studying music when I was younger, and I discovered Arthur Rubinstein, who was 100% Polish. He became my mentor in terms of music and culture. And it's just like, you know, all these bad jokes were going around about, you know, Polak jokes and stuff like that. But it was just like Arthur Rubinstein, what a great musician and a great personality. You know, I read his biography and it was absolutely hilarious. He had so much fun in his life. So would you say that the Poles like to have fun?
I think so. Yeah.
Does your husband kind of like to have fun?
He's a very dry sense of humor kind of guy.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, when he does open up and let out, he's pretty funny.
That's great. You know what I'm going to suggest? We end this. Anything else you want to say?
No, I just thank you so much for this opportunity. This is my very first podcast ever. And I hope the content is pleasing to the audience.
Yes, it's great. It's going to be great to get it out there. And I just want to remind people, 760-500-5002. And next time she'll be singing something.
Yeah, I like Blue Bayou by Linda Ronstadt's a good one. Linda's great.
No kidding.
I love her voice. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was going to end, but yeah, there's a special on Netflix with her.
Oh yeah.
The
And
history.
it's such a shame that she had lost her voice too.
I know.
Yeah.
Is what it is. All right, Tiffani, have a wonderful weekend as it's coming up.
Thank you. You do the same.
Okay. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.